Alright everyone, I'm Kevin Glynn, and today we're going to be talking about Netball Australia, and by that I mean I program for the Australian netball team. So, first off, what is netball? Who here has heard of netball? Okay, sweet. So that's how I was too when I drew it out of the hat. I was like, oh crud, I'm going to have to do a lot of learning. So first off, we're going to kind of break down a couple things about the game. So primarily the history of it, it kind of is more so popular in the Eastern Hemisphere, especially Europe and Australia. Europe, it's like kind of big. They have big tournaments. England team is a big team, and then I chose to program for the Australian team. There's also like New Zealand, and they have little leagues throughout. It is predominantly played by women. Professionally, it's only played by women, and mainly like the videos I saw were like young girls like playing and growing up in the sport. And yeah, that's about it. So, needs analysis right away to break it down. It's pretty much a combination of basketball and handball, which is convenient that we just learned about handball. But for the most part, it's played on a court that's about the size of a basketball court. It's a little larger, and I have a picture of that coming up. But it's very similar in that there are two 10-foot hoops on each side, and there's no backboard though, so it's kind of weird. The court is laid out where athletes have certain roles and can only go in certain areas of the court. And then as well, like handball, you can't run with the ball, you can't take any steps, so it's going to be a lot of pivoting, similar to basketball, a lot of passing, a lot of reaching to get the ball when it's rolling loose. So you can't dribble with the ball, you have to stay still. Time is 4 15-minute quarters, so it's, once again, very similar to basketball. It's a pretty long game, it's a high-intensity game. A lot of stop and go, cutting. The time is very stop and go. They call fouls, traveling, like a lot of similar like technicalities. And then players per team. It's really unique in that 7 teams play each other at the same time, and so that's weird, but it's also not true. You guys don't know anything, so I can say whatever I want. It's 2 teams play each other, and it's 7 players per team on the court at a time. So injuries, like it says, think basketball. ACLs, ankles, maybe some shoulders if they're diving after the ball, maybe some bruises on the elbows and the knees, and yeah, pretty typical. Like when I was watching the gameplay, it's like very identical to basketball. Whistles stop it a lot, and that's just how it goes, I guess. So this is the court, and it's laid out, looks just like basketball court, right? How about that? But these are the goals, and it's almost like a 3-point line, but I would say it's probably shorter than the free throw line, if we can all relate to that distance. And then it's split into thirds. And throughout the game, each position is designated a specific spot on the court. So like 2 people are allowed in here, and they're the scorers, and they're the only people who can score. 2 people are playing defense on the same team against the other 2 scorers. And then 1 athlete is allowed across the whole court, but not in the scoring circles. And you have athletes who are like restricted to 2 spots down here and 2 spots down here. And so each player has a very distinct role on what they do. When the ball gets into the circle, it's really weird when you watch the game because it's almost like the play just stops. You can't jump, and like you can't try to block their shots. You can only like put your hand up, and then they pretty much like if they get it, they pivot around, and they just can sit there and like take their time to shoot it. It's really interesting. So that's pretty much a breakdown of the court. So as you can tell or kind of guess, you're gonna have tall players on the inside trying to get like the pass thrown in so they can score, and then quick players out here trying to move the ball up court and playing defense against the other teams. So first thing is my annual breakdown, and pretty much I broke it into 2 halves. You guys see if we stand over here? So top half is kind of like off season, bottom half is when there are competitions. I chose the program just for the big national team competitions. So International Netball Super Series, Constellation Cup, and the England Tour are kind of the big ones that the teams build up to from what I could find. I included Christmas vacation, and then also when practice started. So off season is, I included what month it was and how many weeks you had within the month. So some have 5, some have 4, and you can break it down that way. I have the goal of that week, the intensity, low, medium, high, whatever. I can get into that when I get into my program. And then how many times per week they're going to be lifting. So right away it starts with the postseason, and they're not coming in. They can go do whatever they want, like relax. I remember reading this thing about Ilya Ilin, who's an Olympic weightlifter, and after the 2008 Olympic Games, he took a 1.5 years off of lifting, which is like ridiculous because you have a 4-week period to train for the next one. He lost like 40 pounds, and he comes back and wins it in 2012. So it's like, these are professional level athletes. 2 weeks off is not going to make very much difference on their performance. So it's like go, unwind, do whatever you want. And then when they come back, just kind of some general physical preparedness, get them moving again, have some fun, like make working out fun, and get them to enjoy being in the weight room because that's what is going to be crucial in developing the strength and power and speed that we're going to go for later on. So I'll just get into it then. Yeah, so everyone know who that is? That's Smalls, right? So they come in and they're like, hey, he's a pretty decent player, but everyone knows that they want Benny the Jet on their team. So that's the goal throughout the year, develop superstars. Day one in the off season. I have 3 days total, but this thing is awesome. So this is just day one example. Snatching, I have high rep Olympic lifts in the off season. People be like, dude, you can't high rep Olympic lift. But it's like, we're practicing, we're trying to get good. So that way when we start trying to develop power and speed, the technique is there and we can actually use those lifts for what they're intended for. A lot of ankle mobility because I think most athletes generally lack that. It's going to help with like just being safe on the court and moving how we're supposed to. This is kind of the crux of the off season, our B and C. Pause front squats, we just want to get strong. We want their muscles to be firing and like we just want to be able to develop a ton of force. And then drop jumps at the bottom. There's volleyball studies with players doing those and their max vertical increase and their max strength had a 14% increase over 8 to 12 weeks. So I figured I would incorporate into their off season and just try to get strong. Hop and hold work is just going to be like some injury prevention. So ACL prevention, ankle prevention, all that kind of stuff. Pretty much goals get super strong. So we're going from Urkel to Arnold. So day one preseason. Power cleans, Olympic lifting is getting heavy. So this is where we're going to develop that power in the annual plan. That was kind of right before practice started and during practice. Throughout the year, since I have like 2-month breaks, I kind of incorporate this back in towards the beginning of those big breaks. But like I said, heavy cleans and like snatches and jerks on the other days. Heavy front squats, trying to move weight fast and like heavy weight at that. And then I had depth broad jumps, so jumping off and then bounding out pretty much as far as you can. I kind of broke it up into like, I have like the lateral and a linear day, because especially like all these athletes are moving side to side, everything. Just kind of teach them to handle those forces. So that's about it. Day one in season is going to be just 2 days a week now for in season, and we're going for speed. So I kind of went a lot lighter with the lifts, kind of just also to decrease the breakdown that they're going to be experiencing throughout the season, because they're going to get pretty beat up on these like 4-day tournaments that they go to, and they're just going to need some time to recover. And so I just tried to keep the weight light heading up to that, so that way they didn't die in the middle of the weekend. So that was kind of the main part of those two. And then C, I changed it up and I added in some new stuff, had some fit light wall takes, just build like some bounces, like randomization and having to react to certain things. And then I tried to break it up into the like taller athletes and shorter athletes, whereas they have different demands on what they do. Shorter athletes, lunge banded twists. If you guys have ever been in the gym, Dan does these a lot, and it's just like get them used to being in a weird position and moving and like using their core and being like strong and powerful in those positions. Tall athletes being able to get the ball from like the opposing teammates trying to get it, and yeah, so that's about that. I also included some challenges just to keep it fun and like competitive during the in-season, so that they're not just getting burnt out being in the weight room at this time. And then this is an example of one of my other days, like ACL injury prevention, is just trying to strengthen up all of those like little muscles. So kettlebell pickups, single leg jump squats, and then single leg side hops. Just trying to get them exposed to a lot of different areas. I'm pretty sure that that's all I have. So shouldn't have skipped your power cleans, Harry. What could you be talking about? Harry Potter, duh! This is what we don't want. Trying to avoid injury is like the main goal, as well as winning and having fun. So, any questions?
Questions?
Cool. Then here's my contact information.
What are you going to do in terms of your upper body for, like, let's say, speed of pass or whatever?
Yep. So I had a couple like banded resistance things. What I was thinking, one of them was like a single arm pull down and twist, whereas like they just get the ball and shuffle it off right away and try to build some, like a lot of it is just quarter extremity when it comes to passing. So try to develop that. Day two, they're bench pressing, and so like trying to just get that passing skill. They do a lot of weird passing, and so the lunge and twist I figured would be good for that, and a lot of things like that. So.
And then it seems like a lot of the athletes in volleyball, or at least let's say the defenders, are tall, lean individuals, and often obviously professional, tall, lean females. If you have an athlete who struggles with bar control, overhead, let's say in a snatch or whatever, are there any modifications that you might use to work on that? Either, what are the progressions you'd use to help her out with that, or if there was an athlete that really struggled with that kind of movement, how would you choose something else?
Right. So at the beginning, like my off season was high rep lifting, so the goal is to practice that a lot, and like along with practicing that, I would probably have to incorporate other ideas, which could be just like simple dumbbell snatches, like just made a video about this the other day. So like med ball throws, anything to kind of teach them with that. And then also like a lot of times I find when people struggle with those kind of positions, the best thing is just hold the bar there. So like if they're not comfortable with their arms out wide, like maybe find like a 35-pound bar and make them just hold it up there and get comfortable. Try to do like maybe little half squats and get comfortable in those positions.
Okay. Any further questions?